The bag full of bags in the back of your car or in your closet is nearly a universal experience nowadays. The reusable bag was presented as a solution to our environmental problems, but today it is not clear that they are better at all, and in a weird twist of fate, they have also become fashionable? Today we are diving into the strange and mysterious rise and fall of the reusable bag. Today's episode is sponsored by Ground News. Look forward to hearing about them later on in the episode. All right, so the story of the reusable bag or the tote bag is a roller coaster of a journey, comparable only to the careers of Nick Cage or Keanu Reeves. These were stars in their early careers, became memes before memes existed, and then are now suddenly back in the limelight with a whole new popularity that absolutely nobody saw coming.
Nick Cage.
In this video, we are going to tell you the frankly surprising story of how reusable bags came into this world to carry our groceries and yet failed to save the planet, and then somehow found their way into the hands of celebrities and fashion moguls across the world. So to understand the current tote bag craze, and to be clear, we're going to be using those words a little interchangeably because tote bag is kind of like the rebranded word for reusable bag, you have to fully understand the journey that reusable bags have gone on to get to where they are today. Now, before the invention of high-density polyethylene, HDPE, or for regular people, single-use plastic bags, paper bags reigned supreme in grocery stores. Imagine suburban moms everywhere with minivans full of paper bags to feed their Brady Brunch-esque families. In the 80s, single-use plastic bags only made up 5% of the grocery store market, and the divide in who favored plastic or paper became pretty clear. Urban shoppers quickly adopted plastic bags because of their convenient handles, as these shoppers often didn't have cars. They were lugging these things back to their apartments by themselves. The paper bags and their lack of handles were criticized by urban shoppers. Impractical for them, but their flat bottoms were perfect for the trunk of your car. So obviously plastic took over because it was sexy, it was cool, it was innovative, and it rode a motorcycle. And by the late 80s, it accounted for the majority of the grocery bag market. But you probably know what happened next. Fast forward to 2011, and there are a million plastic bags being used every single minute, which leads to many sea creatures being mad and probably dead, and countries starting to implement bag bans as a result. This forces retailers to have alternative options for shoppers, and you will never know what they chose. Canada's ban on plastic bags resulted in an increased demand for paper bags, resulting in higher production from paper companies, which were already pretty big polluters at the time. If you have seen our video about paper straws, you might be feeling some flashbacks here. To give you a quick breakdown, we've been warring between plastic and paper a lot longer than you might think, and neither are really the silver bullet solution that we want them to be, but you'll have to watch that full video to get an idea of what we're talking about. So it's not paper, it's not plastic. The obvious solution is some sort of reusable bag. And that's how we got to where we are today. So in researching this, we found that there are Trader Joe's tote bags reselling on eBay for $1,000. We found this news on Ground News, which is an app and a website dedicated to gathering thousands of news articles all in one place. We love them, and we think that you might too, so you can go to ground.news/futureproof to learn more about them. Now, a lot of these article titles focus on the resale value of the item, saying listed up to $1,000. However, almost all of these aren't being sold for that much, so seeing other articles featuring $500 as the resale value seems a little more genuine. There's 25 plus articles covering the subject. However, if you only read right-leaning news sources, you may have missed it. To avoid missing stories like this, Ground News has a cool blind spot page where you get access to diverse perspectives from all sides, making sure that you are fully informed. We keep working with Ground News because honestly, their platform perfectly syncs with our mission here at Futureproof, empowering y'all to make informed decisions by sharpening your critical thinking skills. So dive right in by going to ground.news/futureproof, or you can scan this QR code to get started. If you subscribe through our link, you get 40% off their unlimited access Vantage plan, which costs a whole hell of a lot less than a Trader Joe's tote on eBay. See, reusable bags came into people's lives in a really weird way. Their whole reason for existing was to be the ethical choice in comparison to the single-use plastics that were painted as dangerous for the environment. Many people's first interactions with a reusable bag was as an upsell at the end of the cashier's counter in the grocery store. If you bought one, it was like a guilt-fueled impulse purchase because you were asked if you would like to buy one instead of the plastic ones to help save the planet. Right away, this wasn't an item that anyone wanted. It was a new requirement that we didn't ask for. These bags were generally ugly, made pretty poorly, and the cost was rolled into the last grocery run that you did, so they weren't really ever considered to be a valuable item. These first reusable bags might not have been single use, but they were single purpose. You bought them specifically to bring your groceries from the store to your fridge, which meant that for the rest of their lives, they kind of just sat there, either in your car or the closet or next to the door, waiting to be forgotten. But perhaps one of the worst ironies here is that many of these bags aren't actually better for the planet. In a Danish study, it was found that for these bags' environmental impact to fall below that of a thin plastic checkout bag from a carbon perspective, they would need to be used 52 times. The sad reality is that the oversaturation of these bags being given out as free gifts with purchase or bought impulsively at checkouts made them as worthless as the plastic bags that they were designed to replace. Until something very unexpected happened. In 2007, Anja Hindmark designed a tote bag for grocery stores in the UK with the message, "I'm not a plastic bag." The bag was sold for $10 and to people's surprise became wildly popular almost immediately and was then seen on the likes of celebrities like Keira Knightley. This previously valueless item somehow was the subject of a frenzy in which tens of thousands of people lined up to get their hands on them. But as silly as this seems, this was kind of a defining moment for the grocery bag. It laid the foundation for what we now recognize today as a totally different but definitely the same product called a tote bag. This was the same year that Baggu came onto the scene selling funky patterned cloth bags that folded them into themselves for, easy storage and whatnot. They were like the perfect cross between a reusable bag and the totes that we carry today, and it hit the market at just the right time. This brand is still around today, and honestly, it's getting more popular by the minute. We don't have time to get into all of the crazy popularity around bags. This whole rebrand is hard to understate because while a tote bag and a reusable bag are fundamentally the same thing, there has become a massive social movement around this accessory called a tote bag, while reusable bags are still just for groceries. So what's the difference? What is going on? If you look up tote bag on YouTube, you will see hundreds of videos about how to style, fill, or use your bag. Marc Jacobs specifically released a tote bag with "the tote bag" written across the front of it in bold letters. But there is two sides of this trend, which is really interesting. On the least sinister side of capitalism, branded totes are a way to support local businesses, like your favorite coffee shop, your bookstore, or a restaurant or something. This was a tool for brands and companies to offer consumers an affordable and free way to support their cause. These bags gained support in a sort of ironically popular way, with Trader Joe's tote bag becoming one of these sort of uncool, cool icons. So full transparency, I didn't understand what was going on with this tote bag trend, but our project manager Lou had one and showed me that this was like a real thing because she has one from, it's like a restaurant or something.
I have so many for no real reason.
You have so many tote bags?
Yeah, I have like 10. I don't want 10.
So apparently tote bags are everywhere, and now they're cool for some reason. Call me a dad, I don't understand how these things work, but it's happening. These kinds of tote bags that are given away with a particular purchase have a very fine balance to play. They have to be cheap enough for the company that you're getting them from can just give them away for free, but it has to be quality enough that the person who gets it actually wants to use it outside in the real world. Lululemon famously started doing this back in the early days of their takeover of the world, and their bag that you got with your purchase was like a social status. Even when when you didn't have your Lulus on, it showed that you shopped there and it lent you some of that credibility. And this plays on the sustainability side of things too. Aesop, a registered B Corporation, gives totes to customers with purchase, which shows to others that they care about the planet. These totes not only signal to others that you aren't relying on single-use plastics because you brought your bag, they have become a billboard for our political and social positioning. Now, if you're on TikTok, you may have heard of a little bit of drama around Emily Mariko. Mariko? I don't know. Emily is a TikToker who rose to prominence sharing her meals online. Recently, she released a cotton canvas tote. The bag comes in a soft pink or olive green and doesn't look dissimilar to the LL Bean boat and tote, which was popular a few years ago. However, the LL Bean tote retails for $45 and Emily's retails for $120.
Oh, hell no.
She got quite a bit of backlash from her customers saying that this looked like a gift with purchase bag. Regardless of all that criticism though, they did sell out online. And this is where things get kind of blurry, right? One of my good friends and creator, Joe Lee, sells a pretty pricey tote online, but he showed his entire journey from designing the product and then how much it costs for him to make it. He highlights how his tote bag is unique because it's made with waxed canvas, lots of internal organization, it's made locally, etc. He is a much smaller creator than Emily, of course, but he says that he's received a lot less backlash due to his transparency about it. But this is on the designer tote end of the spectrum. The tote world is just so vast nowadays. Those Trader Joe totes that I mentioned before, the limited edition totes, originally only priced at $2.99, come in 4 colors, blue, yellow, red, and green, and they became a hit on TikTok and created hysteria. People were going from store to store looking to buy the totes and buying multiple bags just for themselves. Does this remind you of anything? Anyone? Do we all want to just put on our thinking caps for a minute and see if we could just possibly remember a trend recently that had a similar amount of stupidity around it? Oh, that's right, it's a Stanley tumbler. Trader Joe tote bags have become a sensation in Japan because AmeriCorps, I guess. Apparently over there, they're selling for about $1,000 a pop, which makes me uncomfortable. What started as paper bags versus plastic bags in the 80s turned into paper versus plastic versus reusable bag versus tote bag in 2024. And if things continue, it is estimated that by 2030, the tote bag market is set to be worth 3.6 billion ding-dongs. Now listen, maybe you're an optimist here and you're saying, Levi, why don't you chill out? What's with all the negativity here? Come on, people are having fun with reusable bags that are reducing our dependence on single-use plastics. That might be the case, but it's not, because people are still using plastic bags when they go to the grocery store. And most of the people that are wearing these tote bags are doing them to look like a hipster. Lurana, you're wearing sweatpants right now and a keychain on your hip, a little chain on your hip to look all cool.
It's practical.
It's practical, just like your tote bag with its lack of zippers and organization. Look, the reality is you can't make anything without there being some sort of environmental or social cost associated with it. We've heard this story before, and the real issue here is that we need to just be more intentional about the things that we own and what we use. So if you have a bag of bags sitting somewhere in your house, give it a little pat and say thank you for your service, and maybe find one bag that you actually think you're going to use, or set up some kind of elaborate system of bags stored in different places around your house so that you never are in a place or a car or in an outdoor environment where you don't have one of these bags. That's the only real solution here. That, or maybe like just not eating. If you don't eat, then you're fine. Then you don't need reusable bags because you don't need to carry the food that you bought from the grocery store home with you. So consider that. Hopefully we can see a bit of a shift with these overhyped tote bags actually being used to carry groceries. Personally, I'm a little pessimistic about that. But listen, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content about our consumer world, make sure that you are subscribed. If you want to support what we do, check us out over on Patreon. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next one. Did you bring your tote? Fuck.
Okay.
No, it would have been way funnier to make fun of you in the video.